Have you ever noticed how often we close ourselves off without even realizing it? Our minds, stubborn and guarded, reject new ideas, resist change, and trap us in patterns that limit our growth. Abraham Lincoln once said, "The human mind is like a parachute. It only works when it is open." Think about that for a moment. How many opportunities have passed you by simply because your mind was closed, your perspective too narrow, or your fear too strong? Today, I want to invite you to open that parachute, to explore your thoughts, challenge your assumptions, and allow your mind to expand beyond the confines of old habits or limiting beliefs. If you stay with me until the end, you'll discover practical ways to cultivate mental flexibility, embrace new perspectives, and make decisions that lead to real personal growth. And before we dive in, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel. Every insight we share here is designed to help you navigate life's challenges with clarity and confidence, and subscribing ensures you don't miss the reflections that could transform the way you think, act, and live. Remember this as we begin. The moment you open your mind, you invite wisdom, creativity, and the courage to face life as it truly is, not as you fear it to be. Let me speak to you directly. You may feel overwhelmed by life's challenges, trapped in routines, or burdened by expectations that never seem to align with who you truly are. I want you to imagine for a moment a mind closed like a locked door. Every new idea knocks, but the door does not open. Opportunities, insights, even moments of clarity pass you by unnoticed because your mind, your most powerful tool, refuses to cooperate. I know this struggle. In my own life, I faced countless setbacks, public ridicule, and personal grief. I could have hardened my thoughts, allowed bitterness to grow, and closed the door on hope. But I learned that wisdom and resilience only come when we open ourselves to new perspectives, when we allow the mind to stretch and see beyond the immediate pain. Ask yourself, where in your life have you shut the door too soon? What ideas, what relationships, what opportunities have you neglected because your mind was unwilling to consider them? Opening your mind is not passive. It is deliberate, courageous work. It requires self-awareness, the recognition that we are often blinded by fear, pride, or habit. I invite you to pause and reflect on a recent decision you made. Was it driven by openness or by the narrow confines of your habitual thinking? By allowing yourself to challenge assumptions, to question your own beliefs, and to seek understanding even when it is uncomfortable, you strengthen not only your intellect, but also your character. Consider the times you dismissed advice or ignored a perspective different from your own. Now imagine if you had embraced it. How might your life have shifted? This exercise is not about regret. It is about recognition. It is about giving your mind the space to act like a parachute, to expand and slow your fall through the pressures of life, allowing you to navigate turbulence with grace. Sometimes, opening your mind feels risky. To embrace new ways of thinking is to confront uncertainty, to step into spaces where you might feel vulnerable. But it is precisely in these spaces that growth is born. I ask you now, what fear is keeping your parachute closed today? Is it the fear of being wrong, of appearing weak, or of failing? Recognize it, name it, and let it guide you. Not as a barrier, but as a marker of the areas where your mind most needs expansion. Remember, wisdom does not belong to those who cling stubbornly to what they already know. It belongs to those who listen, reflect, and adapt. And as you reflect, imagine yourself slowly opening that parachute, catching the winds of thought, insight, and possibility that will carry you higher than you ever thought possible. Now, let us consider another truth. An open mind is inseparable from emotional awareness. Too often we allow emotions, anger, fear, resentment, or frustration to dictate our thoughts and decisions. I want you to see yourself clearly. When you react without reflection, you tighten the parachute, you close the doors of possibility, and you confine yourself to the patterns that limit your life. In my own journey, I faced the weight of immense pressure, political battles, and personal loss. It would have been easy to succumb to bitterness, to let fear cloud judgment, or to act in haste. But I learned that recognizing your emotions, understanding their source, and choosing your response deliberately is what allows the mind to remain open. Ask yourself, how often have you let anger dictate your choices, or let pride prevent you from listening? Becoming aware of your inner state is the first step to freeing yourself, to creating space where insight, creativity, and clarity can enter. Consider this. Every time you pause before reacting, every time you take a breath and assess your feelings, you practice mental parachuting. You slow the fall of impulsive decisions and give yourself a chance to see the bigger picture. Imagine a situation in your life right now, perhaps a conflict at work, a disagreement with a loved one, or a choice that feels daunting. Instead of reacting immediately, what if you observed your emotions without judgment, allowing your mind to weigh alternatives calmly? This is the essence of emotional intelligence: awareness, understanding, and conscious choice. By cultivating it, you create not only wiser decisions but also deeper resilience. You build a mind that does not close under stress, that does not shut out solutions or new perspectives. You build a mind that works because it is open. Opening the mind also requires humility, the courage to admit what we do not know, the willingness to learn from mistakes, and the grace to accept feedback without defensiveness. Many fear this vulnerability, seeing it as weakness. Yet in truth, it is the greatest strength. Reflect on the moments when someone offered guidance or insight you initially resisted. How might your path have been different if you had embraced it instead of rejecting it? Life offers lessons continuously, and the mind that closes prematurely misses them. I encourage you to practice curiosity deliberately, to approach challenges with questions instead of conclusions, to listen before reacting, and to let your mind expand in ways that bring wisdom and calm. By doing so, you not only improve your decisions, but also nurture relationships, reduce conflict, and discover opportunities that previously remained invisible. Finally, remember that openness is a practice, not a destination. You will encounter moments when the mind instinctively wants to tighten, when fear or fatigue tempts you to reject unfamiliar ideas. In these moments, remind yourself, a parachute functions precisely because it opens against the resistance of the wind. Your mind, too, reaches its full potential only when it is willing to confront resistance, to stretch beyond comfort, and to allow insight to flow freely. Reflect now. Where in your life can you open the parachute today, even a little, and allow a fresh perspective to guide you forward? These small acts of courage compound, creating a mindset that is prepared, flexible, and resilient in the face of whatever life brings. Let us speak now of choices. The decisions that shape your life, define your path, and determine the quality of your days. Every decision, large or small, carries weight, yet so many of us approach them with closed minds, relying on habit, fear, or rigid thinking. I want you to imagine your mind as a parachute once more. If it remains folded, you are at the mercy of gravity, falling blindly into consequences that might have been avoided. But when it opens, when you engage thoughtfully, you gain control. In my own experience, whether facing the crises of a divided nation or the weight of personal loss, I discovered that careful reflection, the willingness to consider alternative perspectives, and the courage to act wisely were the keys to leadership and to living a meaningful life. The same principles apply to you. Ask yourself, how often have you chosen the familiar over the beneficial simply because it felt safer? How often have you avoided exploring a new idea or path because it seemed uncertain? Decision-making with an open mind requires both patience and audacity. It demands that you step outside the echo chamber of your own assumptions, listen to voices you might normally dismiss, and examine evidence, intuition, and potential consequences. I encourage you to practice this daily, even in small matters, perhaps in how you handle a disagreement, how you respond to feedback at work, or how you prioritize your time. Each moment you allow yourself to pause, consider, and expand your understanding, you strengthen the parachute of your mind, preparing it to guide you safely through more complex and challenging situations. Consider, too, the times you acted too quickly, too rigidly, or without reflection. These are not failures, they are lessons. They remind you why an open mind is essential, why curiosity must triumph over fear, and why mental flexibility is one of the most powerful tools you possess. Courage is intimately connected to openness. It is one thing to gather information, to reflect and to weigh your options. It is another to act decisively once your mind has considered possibilities. I ask you now, are you willing to act on the insights your mind uncovers, even if doing so challenges your comfort or the expectations of others? Life rewards those who combine reflection with action, those who allow the parachute to open fully, and then step confidently into the wind. In doing so, you do not merely react to circumstances, you shape them. You assert your agency, demonstrate resilience, and set the course of your own growth. Finally, understand that mistakes are not a betrayal of an open mind. They are its companions. Every time you make a choice thoughtfully and embrace the lessons that follow, your mind expands further, your judgment sharpens, and your confidence grows. Reflect now. What decision in your life has been delayed by fear, doubt, or resistance? What choice, if approached with an open mind and courage, could lead you to a better outcome, a stronger self, and a life more aligned with your values? The act of opening your mind is not a single event. It is a continuous commitment to think clearly, feel wisely, and act boldly. It is the foundation of a life guided not by limitation, but by insight and possibility. Let us now turn our attention to the challenges that life inevitably places before you. You will face setbacks, disappointments, moments of doubt, and periods when it feels as though the world conspires against your efforts. In such moments, it is tempting to close your mind, to retreat into familiar patterns, to resist change, and to cling to what feels safe. Yet this is precisely when your mind must remain open, like a parachute ready to slow your descent and guide you safely through turbulence. I have faced times when personal loss threatened to overwhelm me, when public scrutiny seemed unbearable, and when the path forward appeared uncertain. The temptation to withdraw, to harden my heart, to reject new ideas or alternative courses of action was immense. But resilience is born not from avoidance, but from openness, the ability to look at hardship, to learn from it, and to respond with thoughtful action rather than reactive despair. Reflect for a moment on your own life. What difficulties are you facing right now? Perhaps at work, in relationships, or within yourself? How often do you feel the urge to close off, to resist new perspectives or possibilities, because fear convinces you that the safe choice is the only choice? I assure you, the safe choice often leads not to growth but to stagnation. Every obstacle you encounter carries a lesson, a hidden insight, a chance to stretch your mind, strengthen your character, and discover a capability you did not know you possessed. Consider the power of asking yourself reflective questions. What can I learn from this situation? How might this challenge transform me if I approach it openly? What opportunity is disguised within this difficulty? By framing your challenges this way, you cultivate mental flexibility, emotional strength, and a mindset prepared to embrace life fully rather than shrink from it. Resilience, however, is not simply enduring hardship, it is transforming it. Each time you confront a challenge with an open mind, each time you pause to reflect rather than react, you are actively shaping the trajectory of your life. The mind, once closed, can limit your perception of solutions, diminish hope, and reinforce self-doubt. But a mind that remains open even in the most trying circumstances creates space for innovation, insight, and courage. I want you to imagine yourself encountering a problem that once would have paralyzed you. With the parachute of openness deployed, you can navigate the uncertainty, consider alternatives, weigh consequences, and act with confidence. The act of facing adversity with an expansive mind does not make hardship disappear, but it changes how you experience it, how you respond to it, and ultimately how it shapes you. Think too of the people you admire, the leaders, the thinkers, the innovators who have left their mark on history. What they share in common is not immunity to difficulty, but the refusal to close their minds when confronted with it. They understand that growth is forged in struggle, insight emerges from reflection, and the courage to act wisely requires seeing beyond immediate fear or discomfort. I encourage you to adopt this perspective. Each challenge is an invitation, each obstacle a teacher, each moment of uncertainty an opportunity to open your mind and deploy the parachute of thought and reflection. By doing so, you cultivate not only resilience but also wisdom, foresight, and the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can face life's storms without being crushed by them. And so, as you move through your days, let this principle guide you. Every time you feel the instinct to close off, resist, or withdraw, pause and remind yourself that openness is your greatest ally. Let your mind expand, absorb insight, and explore solutions. Let it slow your fall through life's turbulence, giving you time to see clearly, act decisively, and emerge stronger. You are not defined by the hardships you face, but by how you respond to them. By keeping your mind open, you equip yourself not only to survive, but to thrive, to embrace possibility, and to create a life that reflects your highest potential. Now let us consider the daily practice of living with an open mind, the conscious effort to weave reflection, emotional intelligence, and courage into every choice, every interaction, and every challenge. Life does not wait for moments of perfect clarity. It unfolds in the ordinary, the mundane, and the routine, often demanding decisions before you feel ready. This is where the parachute must always be deployed, your mind fully open, allowing you to see possibilities others might overlook, to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively, and to act with integrity even under pressure. I ask you to reflect on your mornings, your workdays, your conversations. Where could a slight shift in perspective, a pause for reflection, or an embrace of curiosity transform the outcomes of your actions? Each moment, no matter how small, is a chance to train your mind, to strengthen your emotional awareness, and to practice the courage to think expansively. Consider the subtle ways in which openness can reshape your relationships. How often do misunderstandings arise not from malice, but from minds closed too quickly, from assumptions left unexamined, or from the failure to truly listen? I have learned through countless debates and dialogues that when you engage with empathy, when you allow yourself to hear even difficult truths, the walls that separate you from others begin to dissolve. Your mind, like a parachute, can carry the weight of conflict, absorbing tension and guiding your response in ways that reduce friction and build trust. Reflect on your interactions today. Could you approach them with more curiosity, more patience, more willingness to consider the perspective of the other person? These small acts of openness compound, not only enriching your understanding, but also deepening your connections and fostering harmony in the spaces you inhabit. Action is equally important. Openness without execution is merely contemplation. It does not shape your life. Each decision you make, informed by reflection, emotional clarity, and courage, is a step toward a life of purpose and impact. Think of a choice you have been postponing, perhaps a career move, a personal conversation, or a commitment to change a habit. What if you approached it with an open mind, free from the weight of fear or rigid assumptions? Imagine the difference between acting from reaction versus acting from insight. The former leaves you vulnerable to the whims of circumstance. The latter transforms every challenge into an opportunity to exercise wisdom and agency. By practicing this consciously, day by day, you cultivate a life guided by deliberate thought, by resilience, and by the courage to embrace the unknown with confidence. Even in moments of uncertainty, when outcomes are unclear and risks feel high, remember this: your mind is your most powerful tool, but it functions only when it is open. The habits of reflection, patience, and inquiry are what maintain it in peak condition. Every question you ask yourself, every pause before responding, every willingness to entertain new ideas strengthens the parachute of your mind. And as you cultivate this openness, you will notice subtle but profound shifts, not only in your ability to navigate challenges, but also in your sense of calm, your clarity of purpose, and your ability to influence your environment positively. Life becomes less a series of uncontrollable events and more a canvas upon which you can paint intentionally with foresight, skill, and imagination. Finally, let this be your guiding principle. Approach each day, each choice, and each challenge with a mind open enough to see beyond fear, rigid thinking, and habit, yet disciplined enough to reflect, decide, and act with wisdom. Let the parachute of your mind catch the winds of opportunity, insight, and connection that will lift you higher than you imagined possible. You are not merely a passenger in life, you are its navigator. Every act of openness, every moment of reflection, and every courageous decision strengthens your capacity to live fully, wisely, and intentionally. You are capable of more than you realize, and the key lies not in seeking certainty, but in keeping your mind open to the possibilities that await when courage meets reflection. As we reach the close of this reflection, I want you to carry with you one simple yet profound truth. Your mind is your most powerful ally, and it functions only when it is open. Life will continue to challenge you, to test your patience, your courage, and your ability to make wise decisions. There will be moments when fear tempts you to close the door, when stress pressures you to react hastily, and when uncertainty whispers that it is safer to cling to old patterns. In these moments, remember the image of the parachute. It does not serve its purpose folded and idle. Only when it opens, only when it catches the wind, does it slow your descent, guide your trajectory, and allow you to land safely, ready to continue your journey. Your mind, like that parachute, must be intentionally deployed every day. I urge you to make openness a daily practice. Observe your thoughts, understand your emotions, and reflect before acting. Seek perspectives you would normally dismiss, consider possibilities you might initially fear, and embrace challenges as opportunities for growth. By doing this, you cultivate not only clarity and wisdom, but also resilience, the ability to navigate life's turbulence with grace and confidence. Ask yourself, what habit of thought can I adjust today? Which assumption can I challenge? Which fear can I confront to allow my mind to expand? Each small choice to remain open compounds into a life that is richer, more intentional, and more aligned with your highest potential. And remember, growth is not a solitary pursuit. Share your insights, your reflections, and your experiences with others. Engage with perspectives that differ from your own. Comment below with a thought, a question, or an insight that arose as you listened. Doing so strengthens your understanding, challenges you to articulate your reflections, and contributes to a community of individuals committed to living intentionally. By participating actively, you honor the principle of openness, extend its benefits to others, and create a ripple effect of awareness and growth that reaches far beyond your own life. Finally, I invite you to subscribe and like this channel. Why? Because the lessons we explore here are designed to accompany you on your journey of self-mastery, emotional intelligence, and purposeful decision-making. Each video is a guide, a mirror, and a source of insight, tools to help you open the parachute of your mind in every moment, to slow your fall when life's pressures intensify, and to navigate uncertainty with courage and clarity. By subscribing, you ensure that these reflections continue to support you, reminding you daily that life is not simply something that happens to you, it is something you actively shape with every choice, every thought, and every act of openness. Open your mind. Trust in your ability to think wisely, feel deeply, and act courageously. Let the lessons of reflection, patience, and resilience guide your path. Life is full of turbulence, yet it is equally full of opportunity. The parachute works only when open, and so does your mind. Let it open and let it carry you to heights you never imagined possible.